UFC Fight Night Dolidze versus Imavov just ended, and I will be going through the entire card, talking about my picks and how I did, and breakdown for some fights that happened. But first, we're going to be talking about the main event. I'm going to be bringing up some points about this main event because it was an interesting main event. But the first point I want to bring up is Nasruddin Imavov wins by majority decision. I get my pick right again, so I'm 3-0 to start the year on my main card picks. Or my main event picks, I should say. But yeah, let's get that out of the way. He won a good decision. He looked really good in the striking. Rocked Dolidze multiple times. Almost finished him in the first round. I thought they probably should have called it. Didn't. The fight continued, and Dolidze did show a lot of heart when it came to eating shots. And the second point I want to bring up is the illegal kick in the fourth round that Imavov got a point deducted for. And this rule, I think, is a rule that really needs to be changed. I get the grounded opponent with a knee. That makes more sense. You can't really fully defend yourself if you have a knee. But you see a lot of other organizations have that rule in place where you can knee or kick an opponent while they're down on their knee. UFC obviously doesn't do that. But I think the hand on the ground is an interesting point, and I think it really needs to be reconsidered because we've seen it recently. We've seen it recently affect fights, and I don't really like it. I really don't. Because what was Dolidze really doing in that situation? He was stalling in the situation. He wasn't working towards anything. So if Imavov throws that could be a fight-ending sequence that got completely erased, got a point deducted, and it was just silly. Like, this is the UFC. If we're able to, elbow people and knee people in the face, why can't we kick people while they have a hand down on the ground? I mean, I think that's a little ridiculous. I think the UFC really needs to reconsider and think about changing that rule because it didn't affect the fight, but affected it towards the judging, towards the end. And that's another thing. The majority decision, I couldn't agree less with the decision. As it goes for a majority decision, I thought Imavov at least won 4 rounds. I could see them just giving the 4th round to Dolidze just based off the point deduction, and not really anything happened in that round except for the illegal strike, right? And the whole fight was kind of based around Imavov getting the better of him on the feet, then Dolidze clinching and not really doing anything, which was really frustrating because I thought that at least with Dolidze, he would try to throw haymakers or try to take it to the ground. But when he was clinching, he wasn't trying to take it to the ground. He was just trying to get breathers because he was getting pieced up, right? The first couple rounds, Imavov looked ridiculous. I mean, he was piecing him up left and right. And Dolidze's got a chin on him. So, I mean, respect to that. I mean, if there's anything you can take away from this fight is Dolidze is pretty tough when it comes to taking punishment. And I don't know, man. I just think it's a little ridiculous that I went to a majority decision. I thought clearly he won 4 rounds. I just don't see an argument to another round. I mean, obviously the first round was a 10-8. We knew that. Second round, I thought he won. Third round, I thought he won. Fourth round is probably the round that I think that Dolidze probably could have got. But even that was a toss-up. And then the last round was kind of just slow motion, but I thought Imavov did a good job fending off submission attempts. He did a really good job striking this entire fight, and Dolidze didn't really have an answer to Imavov's striking. And that was ultimately the reason why I picked Imavov to win, because when he came into this fight, Dolidze was known as the kind of the comeback kid, right? Pulling off knockouts and submissions kind of out of nowhere, and that gets you to a certain point, and then once you actually fight guys who know how to get themselves out of situations like Imavov, it doesn't really happen. And yeah, I just thought Imavov was kind of dominating that fight, at least really early on. He was really dominating him, and then he started to slow down, which the cardio is still kind of a problem with Imavov because he does take a lot of breaks in action where he's not really trying to work towards anything. He's kind of trying to take a breather and kind of rejuvenate himself and trying to get back into the fight and his gas tank back. So yeah, Another thing about this fight was the antics when the illegal strike happened between the corner of Dolidze and Imavov. I thought that was pretty cool. It was kind of funny because they have history, right? Chris Curtis obviously fought Imavov, went to a no contest. He also fought Sean Strickland, who is a part of Eric Nixick's crew at Extreme Couture, and then obviously Dolidze now. So there's history with them. Obviously, really don't like each other, which for good reason. I mean, he's fought him 3 times, that team 3 times. So yeah, underwhelming fight, but there was a lot of action. So I mean, there was like breaks in the fight where it seemed like forever, and then when stuff was actually happening, it was like high pace, like, oh my God, like this is happening. And Mavov's cracking him. He's hitting him with hard shots. And yeah, and the cardio is going to become a question for Imavov in the future. Who does he fight next? I don't know. I don't know. I think I could see him fighting maybe Marvin Vettori or Brendan Allen, the loser of that. That would be an interesting fight because Imavov with the questionable cardio against Marvin Vettori, that'd be an interesting fight. I still think Imavov would win. Or Brendan Allen. I mean, Brendan Allen versus Imavov would be an amazing fight, and I would love to see that. Dolidze, I don't know. I think next week's main event, the if Joe Pyfer wins, which I think he will win, Pyfer versus Dolidze would be a pretty fun fight. Two powerful guys going at each other, and I would love to see that. But let's get to some other fights. Renato Moicano gets a decision win over Drew Dober. Yeah, controlled him on the ground. He was getting cracked on the feet, and he took him down. Wasn't really doing much. I mean, right? Wasn't really doing much, but he was doing enough to win the fight. Gets the decision win, and he did look like he had been out for a year. All right. Like, he didn't look like peak Moicano. Didn't look like he was. I mean, he was working for submissions, but he wasn't really trying to get him out of there. I think you could really see it in round 3. He was just laying on him, trying to avoid any danger of Drew Dober, because he knew he could win the fight if it's on the ground, right? If he gets him into a position on the ground where he's on top, he's probably going to win that fight and probably that round. So yeah, Moicano gets the decision, and yeah, good win for me. Some other notable performances: Randy Brown with the knockout over Muslim Sadikov. I picked Sadikov to win. Maybe not the right pick, but a lot of people were picking Randy Brown, and look, I was wrong. I just was, right? You can't get every pick right. I think we went 7-4 on the card, which I didn't count the one fight with the no contest. Sorry, I'm blanking on the names right now. And yeah, so I mean, we started off not too good, but we finished with the co-main event and the main event getting right. So I'm happy about that. Another fight, Molly McCann with her return with a submission win over Diana Belbita. She looked good at 115, and I'm really excited to see what she does because she's an interesting case at 115. She's always had the shorter reach. She moves down division, and she will continue to have the shorter reach because she's got one of the shortest reaches in MMA with a 62-inch reach. I'm interested to see how she does now with the new adapted ground game that she has. And like, Diana Belbita is not that good of a fighter, right? We kind of know this. Molly McCann it was a war when it was on the feet, but we saw McCann kind of take ahead of the fight. And then once it got to the ground, it was kind of easy pickings from there. Gets the submission. I think she dislocated her arm at the end there. But yeah, that was a great win for Molly McCann. And hey, I was wrong too. I wasn't wrong about the pick. I was wrong about it being a boring fight. It wasn't a boring fight. I enjoyed that fight. Really good fight. Charles Radke knocks out Gilbert Urbina in the first round. I got that pick wrong, but Charles Radke is starting to build a name for himself with the performances and the on the mic, because a lot of people can agree with what Charles Radke's saying. I shouldn't even say agree. They can just get behind a guy who's going to talk shit and is just going to cuss up a storm, I guess. Really, that's all it comes down to. And he's infamous for saying the word, I'm not going to reiterate it, but he said it, and it kind of snowballed into what UFC 293 ultimately came down to was what, yeah, I know that so not much time spent left on that one, but yeah. Azat Maxim gets fraud checked by Charles Johnson. A lot of these fighters that I picked that lost looked really good in the first round, and then they just kind of slipped away towards the end. Azat Maxim was just getting pieced up. His takedowns weren't happening. He clearly won the first round by dropping him and threatening that submission, and then kind of, I wouldn't say drop him, but sat him down. Then after that, Charles Johnson was just making a miss, stuffing all the takedowns, getting takedowns of his own. It was really a comeback for Charles Johnson when a lot of people thought, after that first round, I was like, I don't know. He might not come back from this. And I guess I didn't really know that he trained with Jordan Burroughs, an Olympic gold medal wrestler. Didn't know that about him. I wish I knew that. I actually would have probably picked him if I knew that. If you don't know who Jordan Burroughs is, he's one of the best American wrestlers of all time. Freak athlete. I mean, he's an amazing wrestler. He's still wrestling at the highest level. And helping out a guy like Charles Johnson, that's huge because Charles Johnson looked like he kind of was the superior grappler towards the end of the fight. And he was the one really getting the better of Azat Maxim. Themba Gorimbo gets the knockout over Pete Rodriguez when a lot of people said if there's going to be a knockout in this fight, it's going to be Pete Rodriguez. And Themba, he goes out there with the script and all, gets a knockout win. He looked really, really good. I mean, that combo was slick. He hit it right out the back of the head right here. And really good for Themba Gorimbo, showing that now he has knockout power too with the elite grappling. That is a scary sight because with his frame that he has, that could cause a lot of problems for a lot of fighters in that division. And I do like Themba Gorimbo because he is fun to watch. I mean, I thought he was going to go out there and submit him in the first round. Goes out there, knocks him out in the first round. So that's always good to see when a contender like that already shows elite level grappling and then can show knockout power with it too. That's a recipe for success for sure. Last fight I'm going to talk about is Jung Young Lee and Blake Builder. Oof, Blake Builder. Guys, Jung Young Lee really, really took it to Blake Builder. Almost finished him twice in the fight, in the first round and then the second round. Blake Builder, man, when you're fully extended on a shot like this and fully like sprawled out and nothing's happening, why was there no break in the action? That's my real question to everyone out there. Why wasn't there a break in the action? Exactly. It just makes no sense. If you're not working for a takedown and if you're not trying to threaten a position, they gotta break him from this position because I'm sick and tired of wasting 2 minutes of clinch when you know they're not really trying to work a takedown, right? Blake Builder might be in on a leg. Have you seen a Blake Builder fight? He doesn't really finish them often. So I really thought they should be standing up. A lot of the fighters tonight on the card, really. There was a lot of moments that they were clinching where, man, they could have broke him up. And I think that's another thing that the UFC needs to change. There needs to be more, I hate when people say that, oh, don't separate him. He's trying to work a position. Hey, this is grappling. This isn't just striking. Is it grappling? Because it's not. When you hold up against a guy against a fence, I think that is stupid, and they should be separated. If it's anything more than 30 seconds, if you shot a takedown and didn't get it, and you're just holding on, break him up, please. They learned towards the end of the fight card, towards the Dolidze and Imavov fight, they started to break people up, but man, just really disappointed in this card, really. It didn't live up to what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a decent card with a lot of high-level fights, and it just ended up disappointing and flopping, but 7-4 on the card, not too bad. I think my record's 22-12, something like that, 3-0 in main events, so we're going to keep building. I only keep the record for accountability reasons, just to show that, I'm trying to improve over time, I'm trying to get these picks right. Not afraid to show my record on picks. Because MMA is really hard to pick. I mean, it really is hard to pick fights, especially when fights are so even, when fights don't have an outcome that you expect or think that's going to happen. So, yeah, 3-0 to start the year, hoping to go 4-0 next week. But yeah, um, disappointing card. Got some of my picks right. Got the main event pick right, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. That would mean the absolute world to me. And comment down some video suggestions I should do. I will definitely get to them if you comment them down below. But yeah, until next time,